What's up, Legacy Makers? Mom mode activated, legacy loading.
Hi, welcome Legacy Makers. I'm your host, Samara. Today we're joined by Maham Khalid. Maham is a trailblazing leader. She has expertise in project management and is currently working as a director of training and employment for the YWCA with a focus on cloud, cybersecurity, and data analytics. Maham has also worked in the education sector as an instructor for the Toronto School of Management. Known as someone who knows how to strategically pivot her career, she's gone from interior design, architecture to HR, and now training and development. Additionally, Maham is also the founder of Revohub, a platform dedicated to clean tech training. Well, now let's get into talking about how Maham balances motherhood and also family life. Welcome, Maham.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to have a fun segment, so we call this Spill the Tea. So you're going to spill the tea on something funny or delightful that one of your children had done or has done recently in the past. What would you like to share?
Ooh, I have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. So some days, I think to myself, I should write a blog, The Family Circus or something, because every day there's something funny these guys do. Mm-hmm. So it was my birthday like yesterday. Mm-hmm. So my kids told me
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my kids told me they had to deliver a mattress to my cousin's house. And then we struggled to fit it into the car, mm-hmm. Because I do have an SUV, but it's a big mattress. Mm-hmm. And we struggled and we were like, and my daughter's like, no, we must. And then we'll go for your birthday dinner. I want to take you out, but mm-hmm. we'll go out, but we have to deliver the mattress first. So lo and behold, we take the mattress and I'm tugging it, up the steps to their house. Mm-hmm. And we figure out, then they open the door and there's this whole bunch of people, other friends as well. And it was a surprise birthday party for me.
Wow. Okay, that's fun.
I am so grateful. My kids have they do all these fun, crazy things, the kind of things that I do as a parent as well.
It gets them excited. I love the mattress situation.
I know. I was like, this mattress, you couldn't have thought of anything else.
But you guys also had to go through the trouble of doing all that.
I don't know why that mattress. Yeah. It was so funny. But they're like, because we know you would get onto us too fast because it was actually my birthday, so they're like, you would figure it out. So we had to come up with something you would have never thought of. So I was like, okay.
That's really clever. Good on them. And that's a really funny story that happened just yesterday. So that's amazing. They sound like a fun bunch.
They are.
Yeah. So now we'll get into some conversation about your career. I first wanted to know, as a founder of a clean tech training company and as a director, lecturer, mentor, you wear a lot of hats. So you have a leadership position. These days, there's a lot of interest in manifestation. So do you feel like you intentionally manifested these roles right now or your 2 current roles? Or did it happen to just kind of organically evolve into what you're doing now? Do you first believe in manifestation? Just wanted to know.
I do to some extent. And, for me, manifestation is us repeating something until it's embedded in every cell of our being. But one of the things that stuck out to me most was that start acting like your future self.
Okay.
So yes, in some ways, for me, I've started thinking in terms of manifestation. I've started thinking that the way everything I do is aligned towards developing my profile in the education sector, my profile as a strategic leader who really talks about workforce development.
Okay.
But what I do say, and I say to my children every day when they leave the house or I drop them off, I say, winners never quit and quitters never win. And this, I don't know if you've ever heard this talk about, so this something I, came across online. So this lady, she was running a marathon for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And every time she would come to a part and something in her would stop her and she'd slow down and she would not complete it. So she said, I went to my grandmother and I said, I've been trying for a couple of years now. Every time towards the end, I am not able to complete it. Something stops me. So grandmother said, the next time when you are in that marathon, towards the end, I want you to say to yourself, winners never quit and quitters never win. And just keep on doing it. And that's what she did. And she says, when I felt I was lagging off and I'm slowing down, I started saying this in my head and she didn't realize she completed it.
So the mantra really helped, and repeating it, because it's almost like tricking your brain into believing something before it's actually happened. I'm a true believer in that. My undergrad's in psych, but I also feel like I pursued that undergrad because I was so interested in mindset and how we can have a growth mindset.
Yes.
And just by having a growth mindset, like we can have a huge impact on our daily life, our family, also society as well. And I love how you're kind of training your kids as well about a positive mindset towards work, because obviously if you quit something, nothing's going to come about from it. Your confidence is also going to get shattered too.
And I want to kind of instill the quality in my children, perseverance and resilience, because sadly, now in the generations coming up, we are seeing that it's not there anymore. It's like very easy to kind of pivot. And although I'd say about myself as well that I am a classic example of career pivot, but it's not, I wasn't really 100% pivoting. I was just building up, diversifying the core strengths I had as a person. And this is what I want my children to understand too, because sometimes what happens is we jump to the next big thing. We go after the buzzwords.
Through impatience.
And you see, it's a instant gratification right now.
That's our time right now.
That's our time right now.
For sure.
Instantly have access to so much, and it's very easy to get confused. But that's why I want to tell them, do not quit. Keep on pushing, because you will get someplace. And of course, as humans, eventually there is obviously a fine line between deciding to dog-headedly keep on pushing for something and realizing which will come to them with age. It's not something I can teach them. But for now, I want to teach them that keep on pushing forward, because it's very easy to say, oh, I don't feel up to it, or I don't think I'm good enough. Why? Like if I were to talk about manifestation or talk about, mindset, that's what I've done. I just keep on doing what I need to do, and just block out
the noise.
Absolutely.
So you stay true to yourself.
Yes.
And persistence is really important to you. I love how you're teaching your kids this, because I agree. I think it's just a young people mindset. Even when I look back on myself as when I was younger, like I did give up a little too quickly here and there. And I think it is part of this whole instant gratification. You feel like you're not the best at something right away, but no, give yourself a chance.
Yes.
Give yourself a chance. There's that 1,000 hours, as Malcolm Gladwell says, like you can give yourself a chance, and then eventually things will get more manageable. You will learn. Give yourself a chance to learn. That's how learning is. It's not like you're going to just pick up something right from the get-go and be a superstar right away. I now wanted to get into, as a working mother, what does your typical day look like?
For us, because you see, my children, all three of them are very different stages of life. So I have two who are one's graduating university, then I have another one in university, then I have one who's a sort of just entertain. So it's very diverse, it's very spread out. But again, I like to be present for my children, and I always have. With the older two, I think I was way better, but with the younger one, now I'm just so busy with a lot of different things. And this is the challenge, as a parent you face, like, being fair to children while pursuing your own dreams. It can be a challenge, I'll be honest. For me, I do start very early. I wake up at 5:36 before the kids wake up, because and this has been the same for me for years, because my brain functions better in the morning. I know that it's more optimized. Person. Yes. Always have been. So I wake up pretty early. So then before, if I have something to finish, because now I'm juggling two things as well. So I finish my business before I start my work. Then I go off if I have to drive into work and all. And then, making sure my son's lunch is ready. He's woken up. I still put him to bedtime every day. We do snuggle every day. Yeah, I think it's this,
that's really
the
sweet.
last kid thing. And, every day he wants me to read him a story, which is sometimes I'm exhausted. What I do is I ask ChatGPT to pull up a company's story, which is interesting. So, we've done IKEA, we've done Adidas, Reebok,
clever. That's making it interesting for yourself. You're both learning something new.
And my goal is to expose him to as much as possible about how the world's functioning, because we're in the biggest labor market shifts of our time. It is crazy. The biggest revolution, I would say.
So a lot of things are changing.
Lots of things. So you have to have that insight into how people do it before and how it's going to be moving forward. It's really, really hard. It's a very competitive landscape that we are in right now.
So learn from history.
Yeah. So, I try to stay present with my kids. But yes, it does get busy.
That's a really good strategy. They do say that successful people are early risers, and they just get to it. no excuses. You just get to the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to.
That's what I always say to my daughter as well and my kids. Just get stuff done.
Yeah. I wanted to know, I've come to learn that successful people make micro habit changes. So we just talked about this, like waking up early, maybe even like working out in the morning, or consistently deciding that your meetings will be condensed to like 4 meetings per week rather than 6, 7, 8. So what habit change have you made that you feel has contributed to your work?
In terms of habit change, I think one of the things that I swear by is the Kaizen way, basically. That it's about continuous feedback and improvement, because I will never be at that state of perfection ever. It's always good that I stop and I reflect on, okay, what have I been doing which can be done differently? And this is, of course, especially when you're in a leadership position or you have your own business, you have to stop and think. And that's what I continuously do. But what I try to do is that, if I can finish something, I finish it. If it's an email that needs to be sent, I do it. And I do write a lot of notes. Like I have this task bar every morning that I review. That, okay, this was done, and then I highlight it. It makes me happy knowing that, okay, this is what I achieved in a day.
Like a check mark, like I've done this. Yes. Just knock it off the list, but you try to have the small wins earlier in the day so that it's like a momentum boost, I guess.
Absolutely. And then another thing I've always done, and this I learned from, so I used to work at Home Depot. I was an HR there. And what I noticed with my boss was, even if we'd be talking and there's an immediate reply and something urgent, she did it right then and there. She was very quick about, getting those smaller things she could do done.
I take it that as someone who's in leadership, you have to be willing to listen to all the feedback and really listen rather than like coming with the bias from before. So that's probably skill in itself, I imagine.
Yes, and we need this, because the challenge with a lot of people is that, sometimes you're in that protective, happy bubble, and that's where growth stops really. Because if you're stagnant and you're in that state that you've decided, okay, I'm going to exist in this state of comfort or whatever, then you won't grow. And it's fine. If some people enjoy that state, that, but sometimes I feel you have to have that disruption.
Change it up.
Yes. Yeah. And I, to be honest, on most days, I have 5 mentors. For myself, I've done that, 5 different mentors. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I meet everybody weekly or bi-weekly, but a different mentor giving me a different perspective about myself, because you see, we are blindsided. We are not really, we can never look at ourselves objectively as humans. So sometimes you need an external party to tell you. I want a mentor who can ask me difficult questions, make me look at things differently. So see, again, this is that continuous feedback loop that 100% I follow. I've always have.
Now I actually have a time management question for you. I'm currently enrolled in an online marketing course. I think I enrolled it back in December. I gave birth in January, and I was like, I'm going to knock out this course so quickly. And I was super confident. I have not touched it at all. I am a new mom, so I know that's impacted things, but I wanted you to like pretend you're a new mom again and you're in my position. How would you carve out time to work on this online course? Meanwhile, doing 1 podcast recording per week. So I wanted to know what you would do if you were in my position.
Kudos to you for even trying, because a lot of times we're like, okay, I can't do this. This is what I always say. If you don't take the leap, how will you know if the net is there? So you have to sometimes take the leap. It's a leap of faith. And and there's no guarantee you'll always be successful. You may fail, but at least you tried. My interesting story is that when I had my daughter, I was in NCA. I don't know if you're familiar in Pakistan.
No, I don't know what that is.
It's a big art school. So my first degree was a master's in interior design and architecture. And I was newly married and I was doing my degree, and then I had my baby. And I think 2 weeks after she was born, it was a midterm. And I just, that's I know it may not always be healthy, and a lot of people may not have this mindset, but I have it that if you need to get something done, then I don't really think about feelings, or I'm a bit very single-minded in my purpose.
You're very focused at that point.
Very focused.
So you don't give yourself any excuses.
I don't. And this is something my daughter keeps on, because I keep pushing her not to give herself excuses. And she hates this about me, but I'm like, I'm sorry. And I'm trying to be more empathetic. I am empathetic as a person, but I just feel that if this is something super important to you, then just stop thinking about how, like, feelings and all, just get stuff done. I know it seems a bit harsh, but sometimes you have to make that choice.
Yeah.
So I remember when she was born, I'm notorious for having a baby when I'm studying. So I gave my midterm 7 to 14 days after she was born. I sometimes would take her, carry cot with me. I was notorious for that too. I once or twice had to take her to college with me.
So where there's a will, there's a way.
I just did it. And then with my son, so after I finished that degree, although it was my first love, interior design and architecture, but I could not pursue that career. Then I decided to do another master's. So I stayed home for 1 year with her, finished my degree, took a break, and then I started a master's in public administration with a focus on HR. And then in the last semester, I had my other babies, but I was exhausted, being a new mom and a baby. And I had 3 exams I had to give.
I can't imagine. And part of me doesn't want to imagine, because it's so hard being a new mom in itself, like your physical recovery, emotionally. And then you also sometimes get mom brain too. It's easy to forget stuff.
Yes.
So I hope you got a lot of help, or some level of help.
Well, I was, thank goodness, with my second one, my mom was there. She was feeling better then. And I remember I was about to give up. I'm like, you know what? I'll just drop this semester. And I remember at 2 a.m., my mother gave me that lecture. And, sometimes you need somebody to come and tell you, you can do this. You got this.
For sure.
And
be your cheerleader and be in your corner.
I am so grateful. So she said, you know what, Maham, just do it. Get up. You can do it. I know you can. And I did it. And I had a 3.8 GPA. But for my situation, giving 3 exams 7 days after a child is born, I did it. And I'm graduated. And it was,
that's amazing.
I'm so grateful.
Then you feel so much better afterwards, because you have that story to carry with you, to use against your children whenever they're not listening, and be like, by the way, this has historically happened. Your mother has done this, so you can do it too. I think that's amazing. And how your mom pushed you, she didn't baby you at all. Because some parents can easily do that as well. They could coddle you and be like, no, let's just
take a break.
Let's take a break. Let's just take it easy, and you can come back to this. But then you wouldn't learn anything from that moment. And
no, my mother always pushed us, and she's like, make yourself better. Like always, she really pushed all of us. And that's where it comes in me, like being this practical about things and not being very emotional. I mean, I am emotional. I'm a very loving person, but what needs to be done just needs to be done. Now I'm my own cheerleader. So even if nobody's telling me that I can do this, I know I can.
But they planted that mindset. So that was actually going to be my next question. Because as I'm talking to you, I started wondering, I'm like, I wonder what her parents were like, because they must have molded you in a certain way. And I can tell that they were probably go-getters, if I'm not mistaken. I wanted to know, when was there a moment when motherhood directly impacted your major career decision? And I think you might have already answered this. So you could answer in the way of did it accelerate your decision or redirected your path? I'm going to actually kind of ask this aligned with your interior design program, because you had to give that up. So were you kind of grieving that? Were you okay with it? Did you feel as though you had to search a lot to find out okay, now I'll study public administration and HR? How did you feel about that? Because motherhood was an aspect that impacted that decision.
Absolutely. And like I alluded to that earlier, because with indeed that college was my dream, actually, ever since I was very young. So my family is an MBA family primarily. My brothers, my sister-in-laws, everybody's an MBA. So the expectation was I'll do my MBA.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I thought differently. My brain, my brains, the right side was a bit more predominant, I guess. So it was my dream college, and I got into it, and it's not easy. Not everybody gets in there. Even when I was, because I was pregnant while I was there, I could not completely participate in all these extra activities, and I would get work, by the way. While I was in college, I got a contract for a bank, and then I got a contract for Pakistan's cricket team. So one of the cricket teams, somebody had, because during that time, my husband and I actually opened up a restaurant as well. So as you can see, I'm I'm a typical Gemini, doing lots of different things. So we did open up a restaurant. I did the interior. It was right in front of the Cricket Academy in Pakistan. And cricket, is really huge in Pakistan. And all the cricketers would come to our restaurant. So they saw my work, and he was a very high profile cricketer at that point. He actually wanted me to come to his interior. And then the team's doctor asked me to do their interior. And so just that ripple effect.
Yes.
But because I was a new mom and, lots of things going on, I could not. I could not take those big contracts.
Yeah.
So, and so I could not really pursue that career because I kind of understood, from a parent's lens that required me to be off site of my home a lot of times because, you're working on different sites. So I had to make that hard choice. And at that time, yes, it was a hard choice. But then I got into public administration. Then I decided to do a major in HR along with it.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was a good experience. And yes, that interior design and that bit of architecture brain, that all the learning I have still in there. But I was never able to exercise, but I'm grateful for this journey because where I am now is because I took this journey.
That makes sense. Yeah. So you really own it and you accept that okay, I learned everything in my interior design architecture school. And I got to grow in that, but then I had to make a practical decision. And still, you took interest in public administration and HR. You kept an open mind. I think that helps a lot. Instead of putting yourself in a confined box of saying Maham is only this, you expanded it. So I think that's a really good way of perceiving yourself because I think sometimes young people can do this where they kind of pigeonhole themselves I am just this one thing. No, you can be more than that. Now I wanted to know, often we put successful people on a pedestal and we envision them as being near perfect. And this is how I was envisioning you before I met you. I was I'm going through your LinkedIn and I'm Maham's done this. She must be a total perfect person. But I want to create more of a balanced perception of you. So where have you taken a misstep or failed and that you're willing to share with us that I would call it the holy shit moment. What was your holy shit moment where you learned from it? First, you were not doing too well while you were actually going through that holy shit moment. And then you just realized okay, after you've gone through it, I learned from this. This was meant to happen. So do you have something like that to share with us?
How much time do we have?
Oh.
See, there are obviously, because we cannot predict the future. So we are going to go into situations and figure out, this wasn't such a good idea. I've had multiple of those. But again, I still don't, I think this is what I needed to make that mistake. Or it wasn't really a mistake. It was a learning opportunity. I think this is all contributing to me learning and becoming better because I need to take those mistakes. I need to take those risks. So when I was working in an organization, I loved it. But I remember I left them, and I remember that at that time to my director was trying stay, we'll make you a director at that point. And I'm no, I have to take this opportunity. I have to go. I have to, and I'm glad that I take those risks. I am a risk taker, not crazy. Okay. I'm not impulsive. I take calculated risks.
Yes.
In my career, I've taken, that's all I've done. So I took that. And I took a contract. I left a full-time job to take a contract. The UFT was a contract. So it was for the Fields Institute, the Math Institute. So they had a cyber connections program. Again, it's a non-profit within the UFT sort of umbrella. And they had brought me on to help with that project. And I think it was fantastic. It was a contract. So going from a full-time benefits, everything, I took on a consultant role. Then I got a consultant role at Salvation Army. Then I got that role with Canada's Startup Association. And in a nutshell, my holy shit moment is that, sometimes I take those risks, and I'm glad I took those risks because I am where I am because of that.
I've learned so much about you, but I really want to get to your why. What drives you to learn more, to start your company, Revohub, the clean tech training company, alongside your day job? Did you just wake up one day and you're I want to take on this role and I'm eager to learn this and there's a need for this? So what is your why? What's driving you? Because you could have just rested on your laurels and been my day job's good enough. It's paying the bills. We're living a good life. we're good. But you decided to do more.
You know, if that one person you're able to help and they are able to make a difference in their life, I cannot tell you how amazing it feels. And so one day I was at a conference, and a young girl comes to me, and she's like, she looked a bit worried and all. So I started chatting to her and telling her, okay, what's like what you're looking for? And she's like, I'm new here, blah, blah, blah. And I got her into my program. And she was fantastic. She was smart. She was brilliant. She was from Afghanistan, and she was an immigrant. And then she did my project. And then my organization at that time had an award for the best, for our clients, people we serve, one who's done really well. So I nominated that girl. Oh. And when she won that award, which was fantastic.
That's amazing.
And that was enough for her to go and finish her education. So her story was, her family was migrating from Afghanistan, trying to flee the situation. They were doing it on foot from Afghanistan-Pakistan border. And during that, whatever happened, her family got left behind. Oh, and she came alone. And she had just finished her third year.
Wow.
That young girl had finished her third year. She came and she's like, thank goodness on the slip of paper, my mother had given us numbers for people, that person, whoever's house they were going to. And she slept on the floor. She stayed there. And then she was, of course, a go-getter. So she somehow managed to get into a conference in Harvard, like in the USA. And she flew for that conference on that, visa, whatever. She came here. Then while she was there, she applied for a refugee claimant within Canada. And that's how she got into Canada. Okay. And she said that day when I met you, Maham, after she'd won that award, she opened up and she told me, she said that the day I met you, I realized I was really down. I was feeling she was feeling hopeless. The struggle. She was feeling hopeless, and she was like, this is it. This is the end of, she was not in a good state. She said, when you met me and you said this to me and you motivated me to try this program of yours, and now she's gotten a job and she's doing so well. And when we announced that award, my company said, Maham, you get to announce because she's, from your program. Yeah. And I felt so proud, as a parent, I felt as a parent would feel proud of what she's done. And I admired that girl so much. And I'm so happy for her. So this in the work that I do, now also I'm, in the nonprofit sector, this is what compels me to keep on doing this. And why I created Revohub was also because of this experience, because, rolling out these projects. So I've rolled out a project for cybersecurity, then for cloud, for data analytics, HVAC, so many different programs, right? Different objectives. And what I identified was that, I would have people who had PhDs coming to me to help them find a job. And they would be coming to our basic programs. So one of the projects CCSK is a very basic foundational theory-based training for cloud security. And I had people who were CISSPs. So now CISSP is what you get a certification after 5 years of accumulative experience. Okay. So that person was actually coming down just to do our program, just so they could get into the job market. Why? What is so broken in the system? And that's why this idea of Revohub came in, because I want to, in my limited capacity, fix the way we do the workforce development piece, the job integration piece. I want to support it in, making it better.
Really help talent thrive so that they're not having to take a step back in order to just catch up again.
Absolutely. And it's strategy. So I want to talk about strategy, being strategic about your career integration, because what happens is, out of desperation, out of the need of the hour, whatever, we take the spaghetti approach. We just take whatever's happening in the market, we start throwing it, right? So, if you heard CompTIA, everybody runs and does it. But did you stop and look at your experience and your background and then see what aligns better to you? So when I talk about myself being a career pivot, so yes, if you discount my first master's with the interior design, public administration, focus on HR. Then I got into project management. Then I got into program management. Then I got into this role that I am. So technically, yes, I've not stayed true to HR. I've kind of pivoted maybe 45-degree angles. But again, if you look at my career, it's all about people and process.
Yeah.
So I've diversified the portfolio of what I do. So yes, I have kind of not straight in a straight line, but I have kind of expanded, opening up a I don't know, an umbrella or something. So now I have a different sort of, but again, I stay true to what my original training was or learning was. So my why, if I were to kind of sum it up, is kind of, how to do, again, that Kaizen principle, how to do things better, how to support people better. And honestly, staying in the nonprofit sector, yes, the compensation is not the same. It's different. It's a bit more challenging because you have limited resources where you have to deliver much bigger results, right? But it's just that one person I'm able to have, the one difference in someone's life, just makes me so happy. So I mean, I also volunteer at a food table. I don't know if I've mentioned it to you. So it's me and a couple of other women. We run it independently. It's in Mississauga. 7 days a week, there's a hot meal.
I think I've seen this on Facebook groups.
Yes.
I've seen it there.
There's a couple of tables in Mississauga. So ours is just one. I mean, obviously, we're a small team. We're self-funding the whole thing. And, it just makes it so much worthwhile when you go and there's a person who's been waiting for food and you're able to provide that food. It's such a privilege.
It is a privilege
that I have that privilege to do it.
We can't take it for granted, even the simple things that we have in life.
Yes, and I have the privilege of being able to do it, that I have hands and I have energy and I have time and I'm able to find time and I have the resources. I mean, sometimes we want to do things, but we don't have the resources to do them. So thank goodness I have resources. It is challenging sometimes. The other day, I was supposed to deliver food at 5 and I ended up at 7 because I got stuck at work. And by the time I came home and packed it, but I'm still so happy that I'm able to do it. So for me, I think my why is if I'm able to do something and if I'm able to make 1 hour or some little thing better for someone else, I think it just makes everything worthwhile.
So people are at the heart of it. I think that you're truly an HR person. I feel like even though you originally started off in design, I think HR is more authentic to your soul. That's what I'm getting from it. And especially when you share the story about the girl that's from Afghanistan and had to go through such difficult situation. But your face was really lighting up because she turned her life around. And sometimes it takes one person, one person encouraging you or planting a seed of like, hey, you can do this. And by the way, you can sign up for this particular program. And that just propelled her life. And also, I don't know this person, but she also comes across very strong because it takes a lot of strength to make all those changes as a young person, for sure.
I'm so proud of her, honestly.
Now, just have like 2 more questions. So we're just going to wrap it up. I wanted to know, what do you want your legacy to be? And I know you're going to write the book for your children, so that's going to be amazing. Please give me a copy too, even though I'm not your child. I want a copy myself.
There's a show called Fantastic Mrs. Maisel. So it's an interesting, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Anyways, so in that show, so it's a long story, but a woman, her husband leaves, and then she discovered herself, and she just goes into becomes a stand-up comedian. That's something she's always admired, wanted to do, but she was in that domestic life. And at one point, she's at a show, and I don't know, they again push her. You know how us as women, those glass ceilings and all those things. But she manages to get that screen time for a few minutes, and she says, "I want to lead a big life. I want to lead a life which is not just every day. I want to lead a life where I'm big and I want to leave memories for people and all. And I want to lead a life which is basically my legacy. I want it to be more to kind of, somebody who really made a difference in the education sector, really helped people. And this is something I want to leave for my children as well. Like, if you have one good thing you did in a day, your 24 hours are well spent. So to set up at least 1 or 2 processes which help people for years and years after I've gone.
And now we're going to finish it off with this segment called Laugh It Off. So do you have a story that's a silly moment in your professional life that you can laugh at now and you're like, okay, in the moment it was awful. I was embarrassed, but now I just find that this is something that I can brush off my shoulders and it's just a funny, good laugh.
So I remember we were in this town hall. So, this entire organization-wide town halls. I mean, there's so many stories, like funny. But during this town hall, and my director at the time was such a funny person. I still love him. He was like one of the best managers I've had. I just love him. So we were in that town hall, and so very often we would be in meetings together, but we would be having a chat on the side also.
Oh, okay.
So him and the rest of the team. And I don't know what happened to him and two other of my colleagues. We were all having a chat on the side. And then all of a sudden, that silly colleague of mine, she was supposed to present something on the stage, and she shared her screen. And on that screen, she ended up sharing the Teams chat that all of us were doing.
Oh, wow.
On the town hall in front of the entire organization, from our CEO to the VPs to the frontline staff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everyone saw it.
And
For a moment, she clearly didn't realize, right?
Yes, and it was, thank goodness, wasn't highly bad, but it was like, my director was like, I don't know, we'd written something along the lines like, oh, when is this going to end? It's like never ending. I'm like, never. And she started talking, and then I texted her, and then I called her because she didn't realize. Because I think, sometimes when people come on the spotlight, they're not really very aware of their surroundings. And she started talking, and we are like frantically calling and messaging her because it was the director and us three managers and our chat on the screen.
Yes, and we're all just wondering, like, when is this going to end?
I know we were calling, and she didn't realize she was talking. She was like presenting whatever, it was like, we've done this and our objectives and whatever. And like, oh my God. And I called her, and then she realized, and then she turned it off. That chat, that screen sharing. So by the time the company had read that entire extract, that was so funny.
Oh, okay. That's a genuine silly moment that you can laugh back at. And I'm glad it was shared. So you weren't the only one that went through that. I wonder how she felt.
But Home Depot, I still love, and I keep saying that, when I retire, I'm going to work on the floor. I'm going to, because I never worked retail in my life, and I want to. So most days it's Home Depot, or other days I want to work for a high fashion brand, and people walk in and I judge them, and I'm like, I can't serve.
We can work there together. We can do it together. That would be really cool.
But Home Depot is my first choice because you know why? When I went to my interview for Home Depot as well, that's what I told them. I'm like, it's my husband's favorite store, and I want to work there because I can see the culture. They really invest in the culture and keeping their staff happy. Even if I were to ask someone for one nail, that person would talk to me would make me feel so good about asking that question.
They're very knowledgeable.
They are knowledgeable and they spend so much time with you. And that's why I want to be retired and just talk to you about one nail for 30 minutes.
I love that. And you'll get experience with retail. I have a lot of experience with retail.
You do?
You come across with a lot of different people. It does expand your worldview as well. And then you get humbled too, especially when you have to like fold a lot of clothes and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, but someone's got to do it. So it's a piece of the puzzle of like the entire economy. It's a very vital role, I think so. Definitely not as celebrated as it should be, but I want to thank you so much, Maham, for joining me today. You've been an excellent first guest. If I could have like a cheers and applause right now, if there was an audience, I would have that right now with that track playing, because I've learned so much from you, and I hope our audience has a lot to take away from this as well. And before we conclude, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend, Grace Peretta, who created my logo. So you can contact Grace if you would like her to do your branding. She's done a fantastic job with my branding. Her website is called gracefulvisuals.com. So again, that's gracefulvisuals.com. And we'll just hand it off now. And I hope you guys join me for the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.